Victoria Ashford grabbed the hot coffee and threw it directly into Marcus Johnson's face. "You dare breathe near my blueprints!" Marcus didn't scream. The burning liquid ran down his cheeks, but he stood completely still. His hands didn't even tremble. Victoria shoved a napkin covered in equations against his chest. "Solve this impossible problem, waiter. Solve it, and I'll give you everything. My company, my billions, everything." The restaurant exploded in laughter, but Marcus was already reading the equations, and his blood ran cold. Because he had written these exact formulas, 15 years ago, in a classified laboratory. Victoria Ashford had built her empire on his stolen work, and she had no idea. Drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far this story travels. The coffee burned. Marcus felt his skin screaming, but he didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't give her the satisfaction. "Look at him." Victoria's voice rang across the Meridian's dining room. "He can't even react like a normal human being. What's wrong with you? Are you broken?" "No, ma'am." "No, ma'am." She mimicked his voice, high-pitched and mocking. "That's all you people ever say." "Yes, ma'am." "No, ma'am." "Sorry, ma'am." Like trained dogs. The diners laughed. Someone pulled out a phone to record. Marcus kept his eyes on the floor. $400 for Lily's medication. $600 for therapy. This job was all that stood between his daughter and a broken system. "Victoria, perhaps we should—" One of her investors started. "Shut up, Gerald." Victoria circled Marcus like a shark. "I want to understand something. How does someone like you wake up every morning? How do you look in the mirror knowing you'll spend your entire life serving people who actually matter?" Marcus said nothing. "Answer me." "I wake up for my daughter, ma'am." "Your daughter." Victoria laughed. God help that child. Growing up with a father who mops floors and carries plates. What kind of example is that? Something cracked inside Marcus's chest. He looked up. Their eyes met. Victoria saw something in his gaze that made her step back, just half a step. But she did step back. "Careful," Marcus said quietly. "You're talking about my child." "Is that a threat?" "No, ma'am, it's a fact. Talk about me however you want. But my daughter is off limits." The silence in the restaurant was absolute. Victoria's face flushed red. No one spoke to her like that. No one. She was Victoria Ashford. She had destroyed companies, ruined careers, made grown men cry in boardrooms. And this waiter, this nobody, was setting boundaries with her. "You think you're special?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You think because you can form complete sentences, you're somehow different from every other servant in this city?" She grabbed the napkin from the table, the one covered in engineering equations, the one her team had been struggling with for 2 years. "You see this?" She held it inches from his burned face. "This is the future of American aviation. This single piece of paper is worth more than everything you'll ever earn in your pathetic lifetime." Marcus looked at the equations. His heart stopped. He knew these formulas. He knew them because he had created them. 15 years ago. Project Nighthawk. Classified military research that was supposed to stay buried forever. 18 months, Victoria continued. $47 million. The greatest minds in aerospace, and nobody can solve it. She shoved the napkin against his chest, pressing it into the coffee stain spreading across his white shirt. "So here's my offer, waiter. Solve this impossible problem. Give me a working solution. And I'll hand you everything I own. My company, my properties, $32 billion. She pulled out her phone. "I'm posting this publicly. 12 million followers. Legally binding. If you solve it, you get everything." Her thumb hit the screen. "There. Done. The whole world is watching now." She smiled like a predator. "So, do we have a deal?" Marcus looked at the napkin in his hands. The error jumped out immediately. Sign convention mistake in the pressure coefficient. His own research bastardized and misunderstood by people who had stolen it without comprehending what they had. He could stay silent, walk away, keep his head down, or he could end her. The answer is 2.847. Victoria's smile froze. What did you say? Your pressure coefficient. You calculated it wrong. Marcus's voice was steady, calm, the voice of a man who had nothing left to lose. You assumed positive iteration for the boundary layer, but your Reynolds number indicates turbulent flow. You need negative iteration. The correct coefficient is 2.847. That's impossible. My team spent... Your team started with the wrong assumption. Fix the assumption, the problem solves itself. Victoria's phone buzzed. Then again. Then it wouldn't stop buzzing. What the hell? She looked at the screen. Her face went white. Victoria. Gerald the investor leaned forward. What is it? My engineering team. Her voice was barely audible. They're confirming his calculation. She looked up at Marcus. Who the hell are you? Marcus set the napkin down on the table. I'm the waiter who just solved your impossible problem, ma'am. Have a pleasant evening. He turned and walked toward the kitchen. Behind him, the restaurant erupted into chaos. Marcus didn't stop walking until he reached the alley behind the Meridian. Then his legs gave out. He collapsed against the brick wall, sliding down until he sat on the cold concrete. His face was still burning from the coffee. His hands were shaking now that no one could see them. Hey! He looked up. Maria, one of the kitchen staff, stood in the doorway with a wet towel and a cigarette. That was insane. She handed him the towel. You okay? No. Yeah, I figured. She lit her cigarette. The video's already viral. Someone posted it during the whole thing. 500,000 views in 10 minutes. Marcus pressed the cold towel against his burned face. Great. Who are you, Marcus, for real? He didn't answer. Because I've worked with you for 2 years. You never talk. You never complain. You do your job and go home. And now you're solving equations that billionaires can't figure out. I used to be someone else. What happened? Marcus thought about Angela. About the hospital bed where she spent her last 18 months. About Lily's face when they told her mommy wasn't coming home. Life happened. Maria nodded slowly. My brother was an accountant before the economy crashed in '08. Now he drives for Uber, 12 years. She took a drag of her cigarette. You're not alone, you know. Lots of us used to be someone else. Thanks, Maria. Don't thank me. Just tell me what you're going to do. What do you mean? The video, Marcus. That woman promised you $32 billion on camera. Legally binding, she said. 12 million followers watching. You think she's going to let that slide? Marcus hadn't thought that far ahead. She'll find a way out, he said. People like her always do. Maybe. Maria dropped her cigarette and crushed it under her heel. Or maybe this time she picked the wrong person to humiliate. She went back inside. Marcus sat in the alley for another hour, holding the cold towel against his face, thinking about a life he had tried to forget. 3 a.m. Marcus unlocked the door to his apartment as quietly as possible. Mrs. Chen, the elderly neighbor who watched Lily during his shifts, was asleep on the couch. The TV was still on, playing some late-night infomercial. Mrs. Chen. The old woman's eyes opened immediately, sharp, alert. 20 years as an ER nurse had trained her to wake up fast. Marcus, my goodness, your face. Coffee accident. That's not a coffee accident, that's a coffee attack. She stood up, peering at his burns in the dim light. Who did this to you? Doesn't matter. It matters to me. You're like a son to me, Marcus. You and Lily are the only family I have left in this city. Mrs. Chen. Was it that Ashford woman? Marcus went still. How do you know about that? The video, Marcus. It's everywhere. My daughter called me at midnight to tell me about it. She lives in California and she's seen it. Marcus closed his eyes. 40 million views, Mrs. Chen continued. And counting. You're famous now. I don't want to be famous. Too late for that. She patted his arm gently. Your daughter saw it too. Marcus's blood went cold. What? She woke up when my phone kept buzzing. She asked what was happening. I tried to hide it, but... Mrs. Chen shook her head. She's too smart, that one. She found the video on her tablet. Marcus moved toward Lily's bedroom. Marcus, wait. He opened the door. Lily was sitting up in bed. Her leg braces were propped against the nightstand. Her tablet was in her lap, paused on a frame from the video the moment Victoria threw coffee in his face. Daddy? Baby girl. Marcus sat on the edge of her bed. I'm sorry. I didn't want you to see that. She hurt you? It's nothing. Just some coffee. She called you names. She said mean things about you, about us. Marcus reached out and took her hand. People say mean things sometimes, sweetheart. It doesn't make them true. I know they're not true. Lily's eyes were fierce, angry in a way he had never seen from his gentle daughter. You're the smartest person in the world. Mama always said so. And you proved it. You solved the problem that nobody else could solve. Lily. Daddy, I need to ask you something. Anything, baby. Why did you stop being a scientist? The question hit him harder than Victoria's coffee. Because your mama got sick, he said finally. And taking care of her, and then taking care of you, that became more important than anything else. But Mama's gone now, and I'm okay. Lily squeezed his hand. I know you stay in this job because of me, because of my medicine and my therapy. But Daddy, I don't want you to be unhappy anymore. I'm not unhappy. You're lying. Tears were forming in her eyes. I hear you at night, when you think I'm asleep. You cry, Daddy. You look at old pictures and you cry. Marcus couldn't speak. Mama used to tell me stories, Lily continued, about when you worked in the laboratory. She said your eyes would light up when you talked about your work. She said you looked like a kid on Christmas morning. She reached up and touched his burned face. Your eyes don't light up anymore, Daddy. They haven't since Mama died. Marcus pulled his daughter into his arms. He held her tight, feeling her small body against his chest, feeling the leg braces that she had worn since she was 3 years old. When did you get so wise? He whispered. I learned from you and Mama. Lily, what are you asking me to do? She pulled back and looked at him with Angela's eyes, the same determination, the same fierce love. Fight back. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. Her voice was strong, certain. That woman hurt you in front of the whole world. She made a promise in front of the whole world. Now make her keep it. She'll find lawyers, loopholes. People like her don't lose. Then be the first one to beat her. Lily grabbed his hand. Daddy, you're not just some waiter. You're Dr. Marcus Johnson. You worked on secret airplanes. You solved problems that nobody else could solve. That's who you really are. How do you know about that? Mama told me. Before she died, she told me everything. She said if you ever forgot who you were, I should remind you. Marcus felt tears running down his face. He didn't try to hide them. She made me promise, Lily said. She said you would try to disappear. She said you would try to become invisible because that felt safer than being hurt again. And she made me promise that when the time was right, I would remind you that you're not invisible. Angela. Even from beyond the grave, she was still fighting for him. The time is right now, Daddy. Lily's voice was firm. That woman showed the world who she really is. Now show the world who you really are. Marcus looked at his daughter. 8 years old. Chronic condition that required constant treatment. Legs that might never work properly without braces. And still, She was the bravest person he knew. "Okay," he said quietly. "Okay. Okay. I'll fight back." Lily smiled. For a moment, she looked exactly like her mother. "Good. Now go wash your face and put some medicine on those burns. You have work to do." "Since when do you give me orders?" "Since tonight. Now go." Marcus laughed a real laugh, the first one in years, and kissed his daughter's forehead. "I love you, Lily." "I love you too, Daddy. Now go be a scientist again." By morning, the video had reached 67 million views. The headlines were everywhere. Billionaire throws hot coffee in waiter's face. What happens next shocks everyone. Victoria Ashford's $32 billion promise, legal experts weigh in. Mystery waiter solves impossible equation in seconds. But the most interesting development came at 8:47 a.m. Victoria Ashford posted a video response from her office at Ashford Aerospace headquarters. "Good morning. I'm addressing the footage that's been circulating online. I want to be clear about what actually happened." Her face was perfectly composed, not a trace of the previous night's rage. "The interaction at the restaurant was unfortunate. I was under significant stress from ongoing business pressures and I reacted poorly. I apologize for my behavior." She paused. The apology felt rehearsed, calculated. "However, I must clarify some misunderstandings about my offer. While the gentleman correctly identified a numerical calculation, that does not constitute solving the Ashford aerodynamic paradox. A complete solution requires peer review, theoretical framework, and practical implementation testing." Her smile was thin. "My original offer stands for anyone who can truly solve the paradox in its entirety. To prove this isn't just talk, I'm inviting any interested party to compete in next month's Global Innovation Challenge. $100 million prize pool, open to everyone." She leaned toward the camera. "Including, of course, the gentleman from last night. If his mathematical insight was genuine and not just a lucky guess, I welcome him to prove it in a fair, controlled environment." Her eyes hardened. "Unless he prefers to stay where he belongs, serving tables." The video ended. Marcus watched it on his phone while standing in his kitchen. She was challenging him, publicly, in front of the entire world. She thought she could control the narrative, humiliate him again in a venue where she made the rules. She didn't know the truth. She didn't know that the research her company was built on had been stolen from him. She didn't know that Project Nighthawk was his project. She didn't know that she had just invited the man she had robbed to take back everything. Marcus picked up his phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in 3 years. It rang twice. "Hello." "Dr. Patterson, it's Marcus Johnson." Silence. Then, "Marcus?" "Good God. We thought you were dead." "Not dead. Just invisible." "Where have you been? What happened after Angela passed? You just disappeared." "I needed to disappear, but I'm done hiding." "What do you mean?" "Victoria Ashford, Ashford Aerospace. Do you know what her company is built on?" Another silence. Longer this time. "Marcus, you don't want to go down that road." "She's using Project Nighthawk research, my research, the classified work that was supposed to stay buried. She's built a $32 billion empire on my stolen equations." "I know." Marcus's grip tightened on the phone. "You know?" "We all know Marcus. Everyone from the old program knows. But the people who buried that research, they're powerful. More powerful than Victoria Ashford, if you try to expose the truth. I don't care about exposing anything. I care about getting what's mine." "What are you planning?" "She challenged me to compete in her innovation challenge. She wants to humiliate me in front of the world. She thinks she can control the outcome because she controls the venue." Marcus looked out the window at the Manhattan skyline. "But she doesn't know who I am. She doesn't know what I built. And she definitely doesn't know that I already solved the Ashford paradox 15 years before she stole it." "Marcus, think about this carefully. You have a daughter to protect. If you go to war with Victoria Ashford..." My daughter is the reason I'm doing this. What? She told me to fight back. My 8-year-old daughter looked me in the eye and told me to stop being invisible. Marcus's voice cracked slightly. Her mother made her promise to remind me who I really am. Dr. Patterson was quiet for a long moment. Angela always was the smart one, he said finally. All right, Marcus. What do you need? Access to the original Project Nighthawk files. The ones with my name on them. The ones that prove I created everything Victoria Ashford claims to own. Those files are buried deep. Military classification. Getting them would require... I don't care what it requires. Can you get them? I can try. But Marcus, you understand what you're starting. This won't be just a competition. This will be war. Marcus thought about Victoria's face when she threw coffee at him, the contempt in her voice, the absolute certainty that he was nothing. He thought about Lily's fierce eyes telling him to fight back. He thought about Angela's final gift, making their daughter promise to remind him who he was. Good, Marcus said. Good. I've been invisible for 3 years. I've been broken, defeated. I let myself become exactly what people like Victoria Ashford expected me to be, a servant who knows his place. He turned away from the window. But that's over now. She wanted a fight. She's going to get one. And when I'm done, she won't just lose her company. His voice dropped to a whisper. She'll lose everything. Just like she made me lose everything. He hung up the phone. In the living room, Lily was watching him from her wheelchair. Daddy, are you okay? Marcus walked over and knelt beside her. Yeah, baby girl. I'm okay. You look different. Different how? Lily smiled. Your eyes are lighting up again. Marcus felt something shift in his chest, something that had been dead for 3 years, slowly coming back to life. Lily, I need you to know something. What I'm about to do, it might get hard. There might be times when things look bad, when it seems like we're going to lose. Okay. But I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Lily reached out and touched his face, the same gesture Angela used to make. Mama trusted you. I trust you too. Marcus pulled his daughter into his arms. Thank you, baby girl. Daddy. Yeah. Destroy her. Marcus laughed. That word coming from his gentle, sweet daughter was so unexpected that he couldn't help it. Where did you learn to talk like that? From you. Lily grinned. When you watch football and the Eagles are losing. Marcus shook his head, still laughing. Okay, baby girl, I'll destroy her. Promise. Marcus looked toward the window, toward the city where Victoria Ashford sat in her tower, confident that she had already won. I promise. 3 days passed. Marcus didn't go back to the Meridian. He couldn't. The restaurant had already called twice to tell him not to bother coming in. Bad for business, Yeppe the manager had said. You understand. Marcus understood. He was toxic now. The video had made him famous, but fame wasn't the same as employable. No restaurant in Manhattan would hire the waiter who had publicly humiliated Victoria Ashford. On the 4th day, Dr. Patterson called. I found something. Marcus was sitting at his kitchen table, surrounded by bills he couldn't pay and job listings he knew wouldn't call back. Lily was at therapy with Mrs. Chen. What did you find? Not on the phone. Meet me at the old place. You remember where? Marcus remembered. A coffee shop in Brooklyn where they used to discuss classified research using coded language and napkin diagrams. Back when he was someone who mattered. When? Now. The coffee shop hadn't changed. Same cracked vinyl booths, same burned coffee smell, same indifferent waitress who had been working there since the Reagan administration. Dr. Harold Patterson was already waiting in the back booth. He looked older than Marcus remembered, grayer, more tired. 15 years of keeping secrets had worn grooves into his face. You look like hell, Patterson said. Thanks. You look worse. Sit down. We don't have much time. Marcus slid into the booth across from him. What did you find? Patterson pulled a manila folder from his briefcase and slid it across the table. Project Nighthawk. Everything. The original research files. The patent applications that were never filed. The classification orders that buried it all. Marcus opened the folder. His hands trembled slightly as he looked at pages he hadn't seen in 15 years. His own handwriting. His own equations. His own breakthrough that had been stolen and buried. How did you get this? I called in every favor I had left. Burned bridges I'd been saving for emergencies. Patterson leaned forward. Marcus, what I'm about to tell you stays between us. You understand? Yes. Project Nighthawk was terminated in 2009. Officially, the research was deemed non-viable and all materials were destroyed. But they weren't destroyed. No, they were sold. Patterson's voice dropped even lower. Someone in the Defense Department made a deal. Your research, all of it, was transferred to a private contractor through a shell company. That contractor was later acquired by a startup called Ashford Technologies. Marcus felt sick. Victoria Ashford. She didn't know, not at first. She bought the company thinking she was getting some minor patents, but when her team started digging into what they'd acquired, Patterson shook his head. She hit the jackpot. Breakthrough aerodynamic research worth billions. And the best part? No inventor on record. No one to pay royalties to. No one to share credit with. Because the inventor was classified. Because the inventor was you. Patterson tapped the folder. This proves it. Your name is on every original document. Your signature on every research log. If this goes public, Victoria Ashford's entire empire collapses. Marcus stared at the papers. 15 years of his life. The work that was supposed to make him famous. The breakthrough that was supposed to change aviation forever. Stolen. Sold. Built into someone else's fortune. Why didn't you tell me before? Because I didn't know until last week. Patterson looked genuinely pained. When the video went viral, I started asking questions. People who had been silent for years suddenly wanted to talk. The corruption went deeper than anyone realized. Who sold my research? I don't have names, not yet, but I know it went high. Pentagon level, maybe higher. Marcus closed the folder. What do I do with this? That depends. What do you want? I want what's mine. Then you have two options. Patterson held up one finger. Option 1. Take this to the press. Expose Victoria Ashford as a fraud. Watch her empire burn. You'll probably get a settlement, maybe a few million if you're lucky. But the people who actually sold your research, they'll bury you. You'll spend the rest of your life fighting lawsuits you can't afford. And option 2. Patterson held up a second finger. Option 2. Beat her at her own game. Enter the Global Innovation Challenge. Solve problems she thinks are impossible. Win so publicly and so completely that she can't deny your genius. Then, when the world is watching, reveal what she stole. That's insane. That's justice. Patterson leaned back. Victoria Ashford built her reputation on being the smartest person in the room. Take that away from her, and she has nothing. The money, the power, the influence, all of it depends on people believing she's a genius. Prove she's a fraud, and she falls. Marcus thought about the video. Victoria's face when she realized he was right. The shock. The fear. She's not stupid, he said. If I enter the competition, she'll dig into my background. She'll find out who I am. Maybe. Or maybe she's too arrogant to look. Patterson smiled grimly. People like Victoria Ashford have a blind spot. They can't imagine that someone they consider beneath them could be a real threat. She threw coffee in your face, Marcus. She thinks you're nothing. Use that. And if she does find out, then you have the folder. Release it. Burn everything down. Patterson stood up. The choice is yours. But Marcus, don't wait too long. The registration deadline for the Innovation Challenge is in 5 days. He dropped a business card on the table. Call me when you decide. Then he was gone. Marcus sat alone in the booth staring at the folder that could destroy Victoria Ashford. The folder that proved everything she had was built on his stolen genius. 5 days to decide. 5 days to choose between safety and war. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He sat at the kitchen table with the folder open in front of him, reading the same pages over and over. His research, his breakthrough, his life's work reduced to corporate assets in someone else's portfolio. "Daddy?" He looked up. Lily was standing in the doorway, leaning on her crutches. "Baby girl, you should be asleep." "I heard you moving around." She made her way to the table and sat down across from him. "What are you reading?" "Old work stuff. From when you were a scientist." "Yeah." Marcus closed the folder. "From when I was a scientist." Lily was quiet for a moment. Then, "Mrs. Chen told me something today." "What did she tell you?" "She said when Mama was sick, you sold everything to pay for her doctors, your house, your car, your retirement money." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "Mrs. Chen talks too much." "She said you never complained, not once. Even when you lost everything, you just kept working, kept fighting." Lily's eyes were wet. "Why didn't you ever tell me?" "Because it doesn't matter, sweetheart. What matters is that we're here, together. That's all that matters." "But you gave up your whole life. For Mama. For me." "I didn't give up anything." Marcus reached across the table and took her hand. "I got everything that matters. I got to be with your mother until the end. I got to raise you. I got to watch you grow into this incredible, brave, stubborn little person. That's not giving up. That's winning." Lily wiped her eyes. "Daddy, I want to ask you something, and I want you to tell me the truth." "Okay." "If you enter that competition, and you win, what happens to us?" Marcus hesitated. "What do you mean?" "I mean, will things change? Will you become a scientist again and be busy all the time? Will you forget about me?" "Lily." Marcus moved around the table and knelt beside her chair. "Look at me." She looked. "I will never forget about you. Not for 1 second. Not for any job, any competition, any amount of money. You are the most important thing in my life. You always will be." "Promise?" "I promise." "Then do it." Lily's voice was strong. "Enter the competition. Win. Show everyone who you really are." "It's not that simple, baby. That woman Victoria Ashford, she's powerful. She has lawyers, she has money, she has people who will do anything to protect her." "So what?" Lily grabbed his hand. "Daddy, you're smarter than all of them. You proved that in the restaurant. You solved her impossible problem in like 5 seconds. That was one problem. The competition will have dozens. Then solve dozens." Lily's eyes were fierce. "Daddy, for 3 years I've watched you pretend to be someone you're not. I've watched you serve coffee to people who aren't half as smart as you. I've watched you come home exhausted and sad and pretend everything was fine." "Lily, I'm not finished." She squeezed his hand tighter. "Mama told me who you used to be. She showed me pictures. She told me stories. The man in those stories, he was brave. He was brilliant. He didn't let anyone tell him what he couldn't do." She pulled him closer. "I want to meet that man, Daddy. I want to see him one time before I grow up. Can you do that for me? Can you be him again?" Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. When had his daughter become so strong? When had she learned to see right through him? "Angela," he whispered, "you sound exactly like your mother." "Good. Mama was smart." Marcus laughed through his tears. Yeah, she was." "So will you do it?" He looked at the folder on the table, at the proof of everything that had been stolen from him. at the chance to take it all back. "Yes," he said. "I'll do it." Lily threw her arms around his neck. "I knew it. I knew you would." "But Lily, I need you to understand something. This is going to be hard. There will be times when it looks like we're going to lose. There will be people saying terrible things about us, about me. I don't care. The world isn't fair, sweetheart. The people with money and power, they usually win. That's just how it works." Lily pulled back and looked at him with Angela's eyes. "Then change how it works." The next morning, Marcus walked into the registration office for the Global Innovation Challenge. The woman behind the desk looked up with a practiced smile that faltered when she saw his face. "Can I help you? I'm here to register for the competition." "I see." Her eyes moved from his worn jacket to his scuffed shoes to the coffee burns still healing on his face. "Do you have your credentials?" "My credentials." "Your academic qualifications, institutional affiliations, research publications, the standard documentation required for all contestants." Marcus had expected this. "I have a PhD in aerospace engineering from Stanford. My thesis was on fluid dynamics and boundary layer theory." "And your current affiliation?" "I'm not currently affiliated with any institution." The woman's smile became strained. "Sir, the Global Innovation Challenge is a professional competition. Our contestants are typically employed by major universities, research institutions, or technology companies. The rules say the competition is open to everyone." "Technically, yes, but then I'd like to register." The woman hesitated. Then she pulled out a form and slid it across the desk. "Name, Marcus Johnson. Current occupation." Marcus paused. He could lie, make up some consulting firm or research position, protect himself from the embarrassment of the truth. But Lily's words echoed in his head. "Show everyone who you really are." "Waiter," he said. "I'm a waiter." The woman looked up sharply. Recognition dawned in her eyes. She had seen the video. Everyone had seen the video. "You're him, the one from the restaurant." "Yes." "The one who—" She trailed off, gesturing vaguely at his face. "The one who got coffee thrown at him." "Yes." The woman was quiet for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, she smiled. A real smile this time. "Good for you," she said quietly. "I saw what she did to you. It was disgusting." "Thank you." "My brother is a janitor at Goldman Sachs. He has a master's degree in chemistry. Nobody cares." She picked up her pen. "Let's get you registered." 20 minutes later, Marcus walked out with a confirmation number and a competitor badge. He was officially entered in the Global Innovation Challenge. Now he just had to survive it. The news broke within hours. Coffee shop waiter enters $100 million competition. Viral video star challenges. Victoria Ashford on her home turf. David versus Goliath, unknown mathematician, to face world's greatest minds. The internet exploded. Half the comments called him brave. The other half called him insane. This guy has no chance. Victoria Ashford has been winning this competition for 15 years. Did you see the video? He solved her equation in like 10 seconds. Maybe he's actually legit. He's a waiter. You think a waiter can compete with PhDs from MIT and Stanford? He has a PhD from Stanford, idiot. Read the article. If that's true, why is he serving coffee? Because this country is broken, that's why. Marcus ignored the noise. He had 3 weeks until the competition. 3 weeks to prepare for the fight of his life. But he wasn't alone. On the second day, his phone rang. "Is this Marcus Johnson?" "Who's asking?" "My name is David Chen. I'm a professor of applied mathematics at Columbia. I saw your registration for the Innovation Challenge." Marcus's grip tightened on the phone. "If you're calling to tell me I don't belong there, save your breath." "Actually, I'm calling to offer my help." "What?" I saw the video, Dr. Johnson. I recognized the equations you solved. That wasn't luck. That was genuine expertise in aerodynamic theory. How do you know? Because I spent 2 years trying to solve the same problem for a consulting contract with Ashford Aerospace. I failed. You succeeded in 30 seconds. Chen's voice was warm. I want to know how you did it. Why should I tell you? Because you're going to need allies. Victoria Ashford doesn't lose. She has teams of mathematicians preparing challenges specifically designed to humiliate you. If you go in there alone, you'll be torn apart. Marcus was silent. I'm not asking for money, Chen continued. I'm not asking for credit. I just want to help someone take down a person who has been bullying this industry for too long. Why do you care? Chen laughed bitterly. Because Victoria Ashford destroyed my brother's company. He invented a navigation algorithm that her team reverse-engineered. When he sued, her lawyers buried him in paperwork until he went bankrupt. He killed himself 2 years ago. The words hit Marcus like a punch. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be ready. Chen's voice hardened. Help me destroy her. Not for money, not for glory. For everyone she's ever crushed under her heel. Marcus thought about Angela. About the bills that had drained everything they had. About the years of serving people who thought they were better than him. Okay, he said. I'm in. David Chen arrived at Marcus's apartment that evening with 2 boxes of research materials and a laptop covered in mathematical stickers. Cozy place, he said, looking around the cramped living room. It's home. Daddy. Lily appeared in the hallway leaning on her crutches. Who's this? Chen's face softened immediately. You must be Lily. Your father told me about you. He did. He said you were the one who convinced him to fight back. Chen knelt down to her level. That was very brave of you. Lily looked at Marcus. Daddy, is this man going to help you win? He's going to try. Good. Lily studied Chen carefully. Are you smart? Lily, Marcus said. Chen laughed. It's a fair question. Yes, Lily. I'm smart. Not as smart as your father, but smart enough to be useful. Lily nodded seriously. Okay, you can stay. She turned and made her way back toward her room. But if you hurt my daddy, I'll find you. Chen watched her go with an expression of pure delight. I like her. She's her mother's daughter. I can tell. Chen stood up and opened his laptop. Now let's talk strategy. Victoria Ashford has won the Innovation Challenge 15 years in a row. You want to know how? I assume she's good at mathematics. She's adequate at mathematics. What she's good at is cheating. Marcus's eyebrows rose. Cheating. Not directly. She never breaks the rules because she writes the rules. Chen pulled up a document. The Innovation Challenge has 3 rounds. Round 1 is elimination simple problems that weed out the amateurs. Round 2 is specialization advanced problems in specific fields. Round 3 is the grand finale, a single impossible problem that no one has ever solved. Sounds straightforward. It's not. Victoria controls the selection committee. She knows which problems will be presented before anyone else. She can prepare her solutions in advance while everyone else works from scratch. That's cheating. That's business. Chen smiled grimly. But here's where it gets interesting. The problems in rounds 1 and 2 are selected from a database. I have a copy of that database. How? My brother. Before he died, he was on the selection committee. He kept records of everything. Chen turned the laptop toward Marcus. 247 problems. Every single one that could appear in the first 2 rounds. Marcus stared at the screen. If I memorize these, you'll be as prepared as Victoria is. For the first time in 15 years, someone will be competing on equal ground. What about round 3? Chen's smile faded. Round 3 is different. Victoria personally selects the final problem. It's always something that seems impossible, something that stumps everyone. But it's not impossible. No, it's something she's already solved. She watches everyone fail, then swoops in at the end with the answer. The crowd goes wild. She looks like a genius. Chen shook his head. It's theater. Carefully orchestrated theater. Marcus thought about the napkin in the restaurant. The equations that Victoria's team had struggled with for 2 years. The answer that he had seen in 30 seconds. What if I solve round 3 before she does? Then you break the streak. You prove she's not the genius everyone thinks she is. Chen stopped. Wait, are you saying you think you can actually solve her impossible problem? I'm saying I already did, 15 years ago. Chen's face went pale. What are you talking about? Marcus reached for the manila folder that Patterson had given him. He hadn't shown it to anyone except Lily. But if he was going to trust David Chen with his strategy, he had to trust him with the truth. Before I was a waiter, Marcus said slowly, I was a research scientist. I worked on classified military projects, advanced aerodynamics, the kind of research that changes how planes fly. Chen's eyes widened. 15 years ago, I made a breakthrough, something that would have revolutionized aviation, something worth billions of dollars. Marcus opened the folder. And then it was stolen from me. Stolen by who? By whoever sold it to Victoria Ashford. Chen grabbed the folder and started flipping through pages. His hands trembled as he read. This is Project Nighthawk. I've heard rumors about this research for years. Everyone thought it was a myth. It's not a myth. It's real, and it's mine. Marcus, do you understand what this means if this is genuine? It's genuine. Then Victoria Ashford's entire empire is built on stolen intellectual property. Her patents, her algorithms, her aerospace breakthroughs, all of it came from you. Yes. Chen sat back stunned. Why didn't you come forward before? Because I had a dying wife and a sick daughter. Because I had no money and no resources. Because fighting people like Victoria Ashford requires things I didn't have. Marcus took the folder back. But I have them now. The Innovation Challenge. The Innovation Challenge. She challenged me publicly. She promised $32 billion if I could solve her impossible problem. She didn't know she was challenging the man who created her impossible problem. Chen was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was hushed. You're not just trying to win the competition. You're trying to take back everything she stole. I'm trying to show the world who she really is. And who I really am. Chen stood up and extended his hand. Dr. Johnson, I've spent 3 years trying to find a way to hurt Victoria Ashford. I've never met anyone with a better chance of succeeding. His grip was firm. I'm with you, whatever it takes, until the end. Marcus shook his hand. Then let's get to work. For the next 3 weeks, Marcus's apartment became a war room. David Chen brought colleagues. Word spread quietly through academic circles about what was happening. Mathematicians who had been bullied by Victoria Ashford. Engineers whose patents had been stolen. Scientists whose careers had been destroyed. They came one by one, offering help, offering knowledge, offering revenge. She stole my compression algorithm, said Dr. Sarah Miller from MIT. Claimed she invented it. I want to watch her fall. My research team spent 4 years on a propulsion system, said Dr. James Wright from Caltech. She bought it through a shell company and filed patents before we could publish. I want justice. She fired me for reporting safety violations, said Elena Vasquez, a former Ashford aerospace engineer. Then she blacklisted me from the entire industry. I haven't worked in 3 years. Marcus listened to every story. Every grievance, every wound that Victoria Ashford had inflicted. And with each story, his resolve grew stronger. This wasn't just about him anymore. It wasn't just about the money or the recognition or the stolen research. It was about everyone Victoria had crushed. everyone she had dismissed as beneath her. On the night before the competition, Marcus stood in his living room surrounded by equations and diagrams and strategies. Lily was asleep in her room. Mrs. Chen had promised to stay with her during the competition. David Chen put a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "You ready?" Marcus looked at the photograph of Angela on the mantel. She was smiling. She was always smiling. "Yeah," he said. "I'm ready?" "Whatever happens tomorrow, you've already won something important." "What's that?" "You remembered who you are." Chen smiled. "That's worth more than any competition prize." Marcus nodded slowly. He thought about the waiter who had walked into the Meridian 3 weeks ago. The man who kept his eyes down. Who said yes ma'am and no ma'am, like a trained dog. Who had forgotten that he used to be brilliant. That man was gone. In his place stood someone Victoria Ashford had never expected to meet. Someone who had nothing left to lose. Someone who was coming for everything she had. The Lincoln Center was packed. Marcus had never seen so many cameras in one place. News crews from every major network. Photographers jostling for position. Social media influencers live streaming to millions of followers. And in the center of it all, waiting for him, was Victoria Ashford. She spotted him the moment he walked through the doors. Her smile was predatory, confident. The smile of someone who had already won and was just waiting for everyone else to realize it. "Well, well." Her voice carried across the lobby, drawing every camera in the room. The waiter actually showed up. Marcus didn't respond. He walked past her toward the registration desk, his competitor badge visible on his chest. "I thought you might have come to your senses." Victoria continued, following him. "Realized you were in over your head, but I suppose some people need to learn the hard way." "Good morning, Ms. Ashford." "That's it. Good morning." She laughed. "No witty comeback, no bold declaration of how you're going to destroy me." Marcus turned to face her. "I don't need to declare anything. The math will speak for itself." The math. Victoria's smile flickered, just for a moment. "You think math is going to save you. Math is the only thing that matters here. Everything else is theater." Before Victoria could respond, a production assistant approached them. "Ms. Ashford, Dr. Johnson, we need you backstage. The competition begins in 15 minutes. Victoria gave Marcus one last look. "See you on stage, waiter. Try not to embarrass yourself too badly." She walked away, her heels clicking against the marble floor. David Chen appeared at Marcus's side. "You okay?" "Fine." "You don't look fine. You look like you're about to punch someone." "I'm saving that for later." Marcus took a deep breath. "What's the latest on the competition format?" "Same as I predicted. 3 rounds. Elimination specialization finale. Victoria's team has been setting up for 2 days. They've got their own technical equipment, their own support staff, their own everything. And I've got you." Chen grinned. "And Sarah, and James, and Elena. We're all in the audience. Anything you need, we're here. I need you to watch Victoria's team. If they try anything, we'll catch it." Chen squeezed his shoulder. "Go. Show them who you are." The backstage area was chaos. 32 contestants from around the world, each accompanied by handlers and assistants and coaches. Marcus was the only one alone. A young woman with a clipboard approached him. "Dr. Johnson? You're in position 12. Follow me." She led him through a maze of equipment and personnel to a small area marked with his name. A desk, a chair, a tablet computer, nothing else. "Where's my technical support?" Marcus asked. "You didn't request any." "I wasn't aware I could request any." The woman checked her clipboard. "All contestants were informed of support options during registration. You declined all assistance." Marcus remembered the registration form. The dozen pages of options he had skimmed through focused only on getting his name on the list. He had missed this. "Can I request support now?" "I'm afraid it's too late. All support staff have been assigned." The woman gave him a sympathetic look. "I'm sorry, Dr. Johnson. You'll have to compete without assistance." Victoria had known. She had designed the system to favor people who knew the rules, people like her. Marcus sat down at his desk and looked at the empty spaces around him. No assistants, no backup. Just him, and whatever he could remember from 3 weeks of preparation. 32 contestants enter, the woman said. 8 advance to round 2, 2 advance to the finale, 1 winner. "I know the format." "Good luck, Dr. Johnson. You're going to need it." The competition began at exactly 9 a.m. Dr. Sarah Carter took the stage, the same woman who had verified Marcus's calculation at the restaurant. She had been brought in as an independent judge, someone outside Victoria's control. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 15th Annual Global Innovation Challenge. Tonight, the world's greatest mathematical minds will compete for $100 million in prizes." The audience applauded. The cameras rolled. Round 1 is elimination. 32 contestants will face 10 problems of increasing difficulty. The 8 highest scorers advance to round 2. Time limit 60 minutes. Contestants, are you ready? A murmur of assent rippled through the stage. "Then let us begin." The first problem appeared on Marcus's tablet. Basic calculus. Something he could have solved in his sleep. He finished in 30 seconds. The second problem. Linear algebra. Another 30 seconds. The third. The fourth. The fifth. Each one fell like dominoes. Around him, other contestants were struggling. Some stared at their screens with furrowed brows. Others scribbled frantically on scratch paper. One woman was already crying. Marcus didn't notice any of them. He was in the zone now. That place where numbers became music and equations became poetry. The place Angela used to call his beautiful brain. Problem 6. Differential equations, 45 seconds. Problem 7. Topology, 1 minute. Problem 8. Number theory, 90 seconds. The difficulty was increasing, but Marcus was keeping pace. The years of serving coffee hadn't erased his training. They had sharpened it. Every night spent scribbling equations on napkins. Every morning spent solving problems in his head while he walked to work. Every moment of his hidden life as a mathematician now paying dividends. Problem 9. Advanced probability theory. 2 minutes. Problem 10. Quantum mechanics applications. 3 minutes. Marcus set down his stylus and looked at the clock. 18 minutes remaining. He had finished the entire round in 42 minutes. Around him, most contestants were still working on problem 6 or 7. He looked across the stage to where Victoria sat with her team of assistants. She was watching him with an expression he couldn't read. Not quite fear, not quite anger. Something in between. She had expected him to fail by now. When time was called, the scores appeared on the main screen. Marcus Johnson, 100%. Victoria Ashford, 98%. Dr. Heinrich Müller, Germany, 95%. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, Japan, 94%. Dr. Robert Singh, UK, 92%. Dr. Maria Santos, Brazil, 91%. Dr. Chen Wei, China, 89%. Dr. Ahmed Hassan, Egypt, 87%. The audience gasped. Marcus had beaten Victoria, in her own competition, on her own turf. Dr. Carter announced the results with barely concealed surprise. 8 contestants advanced to round 2. Dr. Johnson leads with a perfect score. We will take a 30-minute break before continuing. The break was chaos. Reporters swarmed Marcus the moment he stepped off stage. Dr. Johnson, how does it feel to beat Victoria Ashford? Dr. Johnson, where did you learn mathematics? Dr. Johnson, is it true you were a waiter 3 weeks ago? Marcus pushed through the crowd without answering. He needed air. He needed space. He needed to think. David Chen found him in a back hallway, leaning against the wall with his eyes closed. That was incredible, Chen said. A perfect score. No one has ever gotten a perfect score in round 1. It's not enough. What do you mean you're winning? Round 1 was a warm-up. Victoria let me win because she knows round 2 is where it matters. Marcus opened his eyes. She's been studying my work. She knows my specialty is aerodynamics. She'll make sure round 2 doesn't have any aerodynamics problems. How can she do that? The problems are supposed to be randomly selected. Nothing is random in Victoria's world. Marcus straightened up. What's the format for round 2? 8 contestants, each assigned a different specialization. You solve problems in your assigned field while everyone else watches. Best 4 scores advance. Who assigns the specializations? Chen's face fell. The selection committee. Which Victoria controls. Yes. Marcus nodded slowly. She's going to give me the hardest field. Something outside my expertise. Something designed to make me fail publicly. Then what do we do? We hope the 3 weeks of preparation were enough. Marcus looked toward the stage. And we pray that I'm still the best mathematician in this building. Round 2 began with an announcement that made Marcus's blood run cold. Dr. Johnson. Dr. Carter read from her tablet. You have been assigned the specialization of biological mathematics. Biological mathematics. The study of mathematical models in living systems. Population dynamics. Epidemic modeling. Genetic algorithms. Fields Marcus had barely touched in his entire career. Victoria was smiling. She knew. She had planned this from the beginning. Dr. Johnson, you will have 45 minutes to solve 5 problems in biological mathematics. Your score will determine whether you advance to the finale. Do you understand? I understand. Then please take your position at the central stage. Marcus walked to the spotlight alone. No assistance, no support. Just him against problems designed specifically to destroy him. The first problem appeared on the giant screen behind him. Model the spread of a novel pathogen through a population of 10 million, accounting for variable transmission rates, immunity decay, and geographic clustering. Provide the differential equations and predict the infection peak within 5% accuracy. The audience murmured. This wasn't a standard competition problem. This was doctoral thesis material. Marcus stared at the screen. His mind raced through everything he had studied in the past 3 weeks. David Chen had warned him about biological mathematics. They had spent 2 full days on it. But 2 days wasn't enough. Not for this. Think, he told himself. Think like Angela would think. Angela, his wife. The woman who had believed in him when no one else did. She had been a nurse before she got sick. She had talked about epidemics constantly, about how diseases spread, about the math behind infection curves. He could hear her voice in his head. It's just differential equations, Marcus. Same as any other system. The variables are different, but the principles are the same. Marcus picked up his stylus and began to write. The equations flowed. Not elegantly, he was improvising, guessing, relying on instinct more than expertise. But they flowed. Transmission rates as a function of population density, immunity decay modeled as exponential decline. Geographic clustering represented through spatial differential terms. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't pretty, but it was mathematically sound. He finished with 2 minutes to spare. The second problem was harder. The third was brutal. The fourth nearly broke him. But each time he found a way. Each time Angela's voice guided him through the darkness. When the fifth problem appeared, Marcus was exhausted. His hand was cramping. His mind was foggy. He had been doing mathematics at championship level for nearly 2 hours. Final problem, Dr. Carter announced. Design a mathematical model for CRISPR gene editing efficiency across multiple cell types, accounting for off-target effects, delivery mechanisms, and cellular repair pathways. This wasn't mathematics. This was biochemistry. This was genetic engineering. This was completely outside anything he had ever studied. Marcus stared at the screen. The numbers swam before his eyes. He had nothing. In the audience, David Chen was on his feet. Sarah Miller had her hands over her mouth. Everyone who had believed in Marcus was watching their hope die in real time. Victoria leaned back in her seat, satisfaction written across her face. "Time begins now," Dr. Carter said. Marcus didn't move. 1 minute passed, 2 minutes, 3. The audience began to whisper. The cameras zoomed in on his frozen face. "He's done," someone said loudly. "He's completely lost." Victoria stood up. "Dr. Carter, perhaps we should sit down." The voice was Marcus's, strong, certain. Nothing like the defeated man everyone expected. "I'm sorry." Victoria turned to face him. "I said sit down. I'm not finished." Marcus looked at the screen again. But this time he wasn't seeing the problem. He was seeing through it. CRISPR efficiency. Off-target effects. Delivery mechanisms. These weren't biological concepts. They were engineering concepts. The same concepts he had used in aerospace research. The same principles that governed fluid dynamics and material stress and system optimization. The cells weren't cells. They were aircraft components. The gene editing wasn't biology. It was precision manufacturing. The off-target effects weren't genetic. They were tolerances and error margins. It was the same math, just wearing different clothes. Marcus began to write. The equations that flowed from his stylus weren't biological at all. They were aerodynamic coefficients repurposed. Boundary layer theory translated. Fluid dynamics transformed. The audience watched in stunned silence as he filled the screen with mathematics that shouldn't have worked, but did. When he finished with 30 seconds remaining, he turned to face Victoria. "Your problem," he said calmly, "wasn't about biology. It was about testing whether a mathematician could think beyond his specialty, whether someone could see that all complex systems follow similar rules." He set down his stylus. "The answer is yes, they can." Dr. Carter verified his solution on her tablet. Her eyes widened. "The mathematics is unconventional," she said carefully. "But it's correct." Dr. Johnson advances to the finale. The audience erupted. But Marcus wasn't celebrating. He was watching Victoria's face, watching the mask of confidence crack and crumble. She had thrown everything at him. Her rigged selection committee, her impossible problems, her years of preparation and cheating and manipulation. And he was still standing. "Finale begins in 1 hour," Dr. Carter announced. "Dr. Johnson versus Dr. Ashford. The ultimate mathematical showdown." The break room was empty, except for Marcus and his reflection in the window. His phone buzzed. "A text from Mrs. Chen Lily is watching on TV. She says to tell you she loves you and you're going to win." Marcus smiled for the first time all day. Another text this time from David Chen. "Victoria's team is panicking. I've never seen them like this. You've got her scared." Good, Marcus thought. She should be scared. The door opened behind him. He expected Chen or one of his allies. It was Victoria. "Everyone out," she said to the security guard who had followed her. "Now." The guard hesitated, then left. The door closed. They were alone. "I underestimated you." Victoria's voice was different now, quieter, almost human. "I thought you were just some lucky nobody who got one right answer. I was wrong." "Yes, you were." The round 2 problems were designed to be impossible for anyone outside those specializations. My best consultant said you had a 0% chance of passing. Your consultants were wrong too. Victoria took a step closer. "Who are you, Marcus Johnson, really? Because waiters don't solve championship-level mathematics problems. Waiters don't see connections that PhD specialists miss. Waiters don't look at me the way you do." "How do I look at you?" "Like you know something I don't." Her eyes narrowed. "Like you're not just trying to win the competition. Like you're trying to destroy me." Marcus was silent. "Tell me the truth." Victoria said. Whatever this is about, whatever grudge you're carrying, tell me, before we go out there and finish this. Marcus considered lying, considered keeping his secret until the perfect moment. But something in Victoria's voice stopped him, something that sounded almost like genuine curiosity, almost like fear. 15 years ago, he said slowly, I worked on a classified military research project called Nighthawk. Advanced aerodynamics, revolutionary propulsion systems, work that would have changed aviation forever. Victoria's face showed nothing, but her hands trembled slightly. The project was terminated. The research was classified. I was told everything would be destroyed. Marcus. But it wasn't destroyed. It was sold. To a private contractor. To a shell company. To you. The silence stretched between them like a wire about to snap. You built your empire on my research, Victoria. Every patent, every algorithm, every breakthrough that made you a billionaire. You stole it from me. That's not true. I have the documentation. Original files with my name on every page. Proof that everything Ashford Aerospace is built on belongs to me. Victoria's composure finally cracked. I didn't steal anything. I bought that research legally. The ownership was clear. The ownership was fraudulent. Someone in the Defense Department sold classified military research to the private sector. They erased my name. They buried my contribution. And you profited from it. I didn't know. Maybe not at first, but you know now. Marcus stepped closer. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Victoria's face cycled through a dozen emotions. Denial, anger, fear, and finally, something that surprised Marcus. Resignation. What do you want? She asked quietly. Money. Recognition. My public confession. I want what you promised. On video, in front of 12 million followers. Marcus's voice hardened. Solve my impossible problem, you said, and I'll give you everything. That was legally binding. Your words, your terms. He held her gaze. I'm going to win this finale, Victoria, and when I do, you're going to honor your promise. Every penny, every property, every share of stock. You're insane. That's $32 billion. That's what you wagered. Did you think there would be no consequences? Victoria laughed. A bitter, broken sound. You know what the funny thing is? I actually started to respect you today. Watching you solve those problems. Watching you refuse to give up. I thought maybe this man isn't my enemy. Maybe we could work together. You threw hot coffee in my face. You called me an animal. You said my daughter would be better off without me. Victoria flinched. I was angry. I didn't mean... You meant every word, just like you meant every cruel thing you've ever said to every person you considered beneath you. Marcus shook his head. This isn't about working together, Victoria. This is about accountability. Something you've never faced in your entire privileged life. The door opened. The production assistant appeared. Ms. Ashford, Dr. Johnson. The finale begins in 5 minutes. Victoria looked at Marcus one last time. The mask was back in place. The CEO, the billionaire, the woman who never lost. See you on stage, she said. May the best mathematician win. She walked out. Marcus stayed behind for a moment, gathering himself. The finale was about to begin. The biggest mathematical challenge of his life, and he was ready. The finale stage was arranged for maximum drama. 2 desks facing each other, 2 giant screens, 2 spotlights, 100 million viewers watching around the world. Dr. Carter stood between them holding a sealed envelope. Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. The finale of the 15th Annual Global Innovation Challenge. Dr. Marcus Johnson versus Dr. Victoria Ashford. Winner takes all. The audience was silent. Even the cameras seemed to hold their breath. The finale consists of one problem, an unsolvable paradox that has stumped the world's greatest minds. Both contestants will work simultaneously, The first to provide a complete verified solution wins. She held up the envelope. Ms. Ashford, as defending champion, you have the right to reveal this year's finale problem. Victoria took the envelope. Her hands were steady now. Whatever vulnerability she had shown backstage was gone. This year's challenge, she announced, is the Ashford convergence paradox, a problem my research team has been developing for 3 years. It demonstrates the theoretical limits of infinite series analysis and has implications for quantum computing, artificial intelligence, and cryptographic security. She tore open the envelope and displayed the problem on both screens. Marcus looked at the equations and felt his heart stop. He knew this problem. He had created this problem. 15 years ago, as part of Project Nighthawk, he had developed this exact mathematical framework. It was the foundation of everything Ashford Aerospace had built, the stolen research that had made Victoria a billionaire. And now she was presenting it as her own unsolvable paradox. Time begins now, Dr. Carter announced. Victoria's stylus flew across her tablet. She knew the solution. She had memorized it. All she had to do was write fast enough. But Marcus wasn't writing. He was watching. Dr. Johnson, Dr. Carter prompted. The clock is running. I know. Is there a problem? Yes. Marcus looked at Victoria. There's been a problem for 15 years. Victoria's stylus paused. What are you doing? Telling the truth. Marcus turned to face the cameras. Dr. Carter, I need to make a statement before I solve this problem. Dr. Johnson, this is highly irregular. The Ashford convergence paradox isn't Victoria's creation. It's mine. The audience gasped. Victoria's face went white. 15 years ago, I developed this mathematical framework as part of a classified military research project. The work was stolen, sold to the private sector, and eventually acquired by Ashford Technologies. This is slander, Victoria said sharply. Security. I have documentation. Marcus pulled a flash drive from his pocket. Original research files with my name and signature on every page. Time-stamped 15 years before Victoria Ashford filed her first patent. Dr. Carter hesitated. The audience was in chaos. Security guards moved toward the stage, unsure what to do. This is a competition, Victoria said loudly. Not a courtroom. Whatever accusations this man wants to make, he can make them after he loses. I'm not going to lose. Marcus plugged the flash drive into his tablet. I'm going to solve your paradox, my paradox, and then I'm going to show the world the proof of what you stole. You can't. Watch me. Marcus picked up his stylus and began to write. The solution flowed effortlessly. Every equation, every proof, every elegant connection that he had discovered 15 years ago in a classified laboratory. Victoria watched in horror as her unsolvable paradox was solved in real time by the man she had tried to destroy. The convergence point, Marcus narrated for the cameras, is not zero as the original formulation suggests. The sign convention error in equation 7 creates a false paradox. Correct the error and the series converges to 2.847. He finished with a flourish and set down his stylus. Verification, Dr. Carter asked weakly. The judges checked his work, checked it again, checked it a third time. The solution is correct. Dr. Carter's voice was barely audible. Dr. Marcus Johnson wins the Global Innovation Challenge. The audience erupted. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. But Marcus wasn't listening to any of it. He was watching Victoria's face as her empire crumbled around her. You promised me everything, he said quietly, just loud enough for her to hear over the chaos. Are you a woman of your word? Victoria stared at him, at the flash drive in his hand, at the screens displaying proof of her fraud. You've destroyed me, she whispered. No. Marcus shook his head. You destroyed yourself 15 years ago when you built your fortune on stolen genius. I just reminded the world that actions have consequences." He extended his hand. $32 billion, Ms. Ashford. That was the bet. Unless you'd like to admit publicly that you're a liar as well as a thief. Victoria looked at his hand, at the cameras, at the audience waiting to see what she would do. Then slowly she reached out and shook it. "You win," she said. "God help me, you win." The handshake lasted 3 seconds. 3 seconds that ended 15 years of injustice. 3 seconds that transferred $32 billion. 3 seconds that changed everything. Then the chaos began. Security guards rushed the stage. Lawyers materialized from nowhere. Reporters screamed questions so loud they blurred into white noise. "Dr. Johnson, how does it feel to be a billionaire? Dr. Johnson, will you press criminal charges? Dr. Johnson, what's your message to Victoria Ashford?" Marcus didn't answer. He couldn't. His ears were ringing. His hands were shaking. The adrenaline that had carried him through 3 rounds of impossible mathematics was crashing hard. David Chen pushed through the crowd and grabbed his arm. "We need to get you out of here. Now!" "Lily. Mrs. Chen is bringing her. They're meeting us at the back exit." Chen pulled him toward the stage door. "Move, before Victoria's lawyers figure out how to spin this." They made it halfway across the stage before Victoria's voice cut through the noise. "Marcus, wait!" He turned. Victoria was standing alone now. Her team had abandoned her. Her investors were already on their phones, presumably calling their own lawyers. The woman who had commanded empires looked suddenly small. "I need to tell you something," she said, "before this goes any further." "Victoria, don't say anything without counsel present," one of her lawyers started. "Shut up, Gerald." Victoria walked toward Marcus, ignoring the cameras, ignoring the crowd, ignoring everything except the man who had just destroyed her. "You deserve to know the truth, all of it." Marcus waited. "I didn't know." Her voice cracked slightly. "When I bought that research, I didn't know it was stolen. I thought it was legitimate government surplus. Declassified military projects sold to fund other programs." "And when you found out?" Victoria was silent for a long moment. "I found out 3 years ago. An anonymous tip. Someone sent me the original Project Nighthawk files with your name on them." Marcus felt his blood go cold. 3 years ago. "I should have contacted you. I should have made it right. Instead, I buried it. Paid people to make sure the information never surfaced." She laughed bitterly. "I told myself it didn't matter. The research was mine now legally. Whatever happened before I acquired it wasn't my responsibility. You knew for 3 years that you built your empire on stolen work, my work, and you did nothing. I did worse than nothing. I actively covered it up." Victoria met his eyes. "That night at the restaurant when I saw you, I knew who you were. I recognized your name from the files." The revelation hit Marcus like a physical blow. "You knew who I was when you threw coffee in my face. I panicked. I thought if I humiliated you badly enough, you'd disappear. Go back to your quiet life and never threaten me again." She shook her head. "Instead, I gave you the platform to destroy me." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you won. Because it's over. Because I'm tired of carrying secrets that eat me alive." Victoria's composure finally shattered completely. Tears streamed down her face. "And because you deserve to know that the person who sold your research, the person who started all of this, it wasn't some faceless bureaucrat." Marcus's heart stopped. "What are you saying?" "It was my father." The words hung in the air like smoke. "Richard Ashford, Deputy Secretary of Defense 2007 to 2011. He was the one who authorized the sale of Project Nighthawk. He was the one who erased your name from the files. He was the one who gave me the business opportunity that launched my career." "Your father?" "I didn't know at the time. I was 23 years old, fresh out of business school. He told me he had connections who could get me started in aerospace technology. He never told me where the technology came from. Victoria wiped her eyes roughly. By the time I found out he was dead, heart attack 5 years ago, and I was already worth $10 billion. Marcus didn't know what to feel. Rage, betrayal, confusion, something that might have been pity. You could have made it right, he said finally. Even after you found out, you could have found me, compensated me, acknowledged what happened. I know. But you didn't. No, I didn't. Victoria straightened her shoulders. Because I'm a coward, Marcus. I've always been a coward. I built this image of myself, the brilliant innovator, the self-made billionaire, the woman who conquered a man's world through pure genius. If the truth came out, all of that would be a lie. It was always a lie. Yes, it was. Victoria took a deep breath. So here's what's going to happen. My lawyers are going to fight the transfer of assets. They're going to claim the competition terms weren't legally binding. They're going to drag this through courts for years. Marcus tensed. Victoria, let me finish. She held up her hand. That's what they're going to try to do. But I'm not going to let them. What? I'm going to honor our agreement. Every penny, every property, every share of stock. Victoria's voice was steady now. Not because I have to, because I should have done it 3 years ago when I first learned the truth. Marcus stared at her. Why should I believe you? You shouldn't. I've given you no reason to trust me. Victoria pulled a document from her jacket pocket. That's why I had this prepared before the competition started. She handed him the paper. Marcus read it twice before he understood what he was holding. A signed transfer agreement. Everything Victoria owned legally conveyed to Marcus Johnson. Witnessed, notarized, dated 3 weeks ago. I knew you were going to win, Victoria said quietly. From the moment I saw you solve that equation at the restaurant, I knew. I've met a lot of brilliant people in my life. I've never met anyone like you. Then why go through with the competition at all? Because I needed you to earn it. I needed the world to see that you deserved everything you were about to receive. Victoria managed a weak smile. And honestly, I needed to see it too. I needed to watch you beat me fair and square so I could finally stop lying to myself about who the real genius is. Marcus looked at the document in his hands. $32 billion. More money than he could spend in 100 lifetimes. The culmination of everything he had fought for. It felt hollow. Victoria. I don't want your money. Her eyes widened. What? I didn't do this for money. I did this to prove that you couldn't silence me, that you couldn't erase me, that no matter how powerful you were, the truth would come out eventually. Marcus, you can't just refuse $32 billion. I'm not refusing it. I'm redirecting it. Marcus folded the document and put it in his pocket. There's going to be a foundation. The Angela Johnson Foundation, named after my wife. It's going to fund scholarships for students who can't afford to finish their education. Medical care for families crushed by impossible bills. Research grants for scientists whose work gets stolen or buried. Victoria was speechless. Your money is going to help every person you would have stepped on. Every waiter, every janitor, every single parent working 3 jobs to keep their kids alive. Marcus met her eyes. That's your legacy now. Not your patents, not your algorithms. The people you help save. Why? Victoria whispered. After everything I did to you, why would you do this? Because my wife would have wanted me to. Marcus thought about Angela, about her smile, about the way she always saw the best in people even when they didn't deserve it. She used to say that revenge was just pain passed forward, that the only way to break the cycle was to transform it into something better. She sounds like an extraordinary woman. She was. She died believing I would make a difference in the world someday. Marcus felt tears threatening, but held them back. I'm not going to waste this chance proving her right by becoming someone she wouldn't recognize. The crowd around them had gone silent. The cameras were still rolling, capturing every word. This wasn't the ending anyone had expected. Victoria extended her hand again. Then let me help. The foundation, whatever you need. I know I don't deserve a second chance, but... No. Victoria's hand dropped. You don't get to buy redemption, Victoria. That's not how this works. Marcus shook his head. If you want to make things right, you start by telling the truth. All of it. Your father's corruption, the cover-up, everything. That would destroy my family's reputation. My mother is still alive. My brother has children. Then I guess you have to decide what matters more. Protecting people who profited from theft or actually becoming the person you've been pretending to be. Victoria was quiet for a long time. You're asking me to burn down everything, she said finally. I'm asking you to tell the truth. The burning down is just a consequence. Before Victoria could respond, the stage door burst open. Daddy! Lily's voice cut through everything. Marcus turned just in time to catch his daughter as she launched herself into his arms, crutches clattering to the floor. You did it! She was crying and laughing at the same time. You did it, Daddy! I watched the whole thing. You were amazing! Marcus held her tight, burying his face in her hair. I did it, baby girl. I really did it. Mama would be so proud. Lily pulled back to look at him. I'm so proud. I couldn't have done it without you. Marcus kissed her forehead. You reminded me who I was. You made me fight. That's what Mama told me to do. Lily grinned through her tears. She said you'd forget. She said I'd have to remind you. Your Mama was right about everything. Mrs. Chen appeared behind them, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. I've been watching that woman for years on television, thinking she was some kind of genius. Turns out the real genius was living next door to me the whole time. Mrs. Chen. Don't you. Mrs. Chen, me. The old woman pulled Marcus into a fierce hug. I always knew there was something special about you. The way you looked at those math books when you thought nobody was watching. The equations you'd write on napkins and throw away. She squeezed him tighter. Angela knew too. She told me before she passed. She said, watch over my husband. He's going to do something incredible someday. He just doesn't believe it yet. Marcus couldn't speak. The tears he had been holding back finally broke free. Your wife was the smartest woman I ever met, Mrs. Chen continued. Not because of degrees or research papers, because she could see people's hearts, and she saw yours. I miss her so much. I know you do, dear. I know. Mrs. Chen released him and wiped her own eyes. But she's still here. In that brilliant little girl. In the man who just changed the world. She's still here. David Chen approached carefully, not wanting to interrupt the moment. Marcus, I hate to do this, but we have a situation. What kind of situation? The kind with federal agents. Chen nodded toward the exit where several men in dark suits were making their way through the crowd. Apparently your revelation about Project Nighthawk triggered some alarms. The Department of Defense wants to talk to you. Of course they do. Dr. Patterson is already on his way. He says he has contacts who can help navigate this. Chen lowered his voice. But Marcus, if they classify your testimony, if they decide that what happened tonight is a national security matter, then they'll try to bury it again. Marcus looked at the approaching agents, just like they buried it 15 years ago. What do you want to do? Marcus thought about everything that had happened. The restaurant, the humiliation, the training, the competition, Victoria's confession, the $32 billion that he was about to redirect to people who needed it. He thought about Lily standing beside him with her crutches and her fierce eyes. He thought about Angela watching from somewhere beyond. I want to tell the truth, he said, and I want to make sure no one can ever bury it again. He turned to face the approaching agents. The lead agent was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and an expression that revealed nothing. Dr. Johnson, I'm Agent Sarah Mitchell, Department of Defense Office of Inspector General. We need to speak with you regarding statements you made tonight about classified military research. I'm happy to cooperate, Agent Mitchell, but I have conditions. Dr. Johnson, this is a matter of national security. My conditions are non-negotiable. Marcus kept his voice calm. First, my daughter stays with me at all times. She's 8 years old, and I'm not leaving her alone with strangers. Agent Mitchell glanced at Lily. That's unusual, but acceptable. Second, everything I tell you gets released to the public. No classification, no redaction, no burying the truth to protect people who committed crimes. That's not how this works. That's exactly how this works. Marcus held up his phone. I've been live streaming this conversation to 30 million viewers. Everything you say and do is being recorded. If you try to silence me, the whole world will know. Agent Mitchell's jaw tightened. You're making a very dangerous decision, Dr. Johnson. I've been making dangerous decisions all night. Haven't lost yet. The people who sold that research, the people who covered it up, they're powerful. More powerful than you can imagine. Victoria's father was Deputy Secretary of Defense. I already know how powerful they are. Marcus stepped closer to the agent. And I don't care. Whatever they do to me, the truth is already out. You can't unring this bell. Agent Mitchell studied him for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, she smiled. Good. Excuse me. I said good. Mitchell lowered her voice so the cameras couldn't pick it up. I've been investigating the Project Nighthawk sale for 6 years. Every time I got close to the truth, someone shut me down. Richard Ashford had friends everywhere. He's dead now, and his daughter just confirmed everything I suspected but couldn't prove. Mitchell nodded toward Victoria, who was still standing on stage, surrounded by lawyers. You just gave me the ammunition I needed to bring down an entire network of corruption. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. Hope, maybe, or relief. Then let's work together. Let's. Mitchell extended her hand. But Dr. Johnson, I need you to understand something. This isn't over. The people Ashford worked with, they're not going to go quietly. They're going to come after you. Your daughter. Everyone you care about. I know. And you're still willing to fight. Marcus looked at Lily, at Mrs. Chen, at David Chen, and all the mathematicians who had rallied to his cause. Agent Mitchell, 3 weeks ago, I was a waiter who was afraid to look customers in the eye. Then a billionaire threw hot coffee in my face and dared me to prove I was worth something. He smiled grimly. I've learned that being afraid doesn't mean you can't fight. It just means the fight matters. Mitchell nodded slowly. Then let's go make some very powerful people very uncomfortable. The next 72 hours were chaos. Marcus gave depositions, testified before congressional committees, sat through endless meetings with lawyers who spoke in languages more complex than any mathematics he had ever encountered. Through all of it, Lily stayed by his side. She did her homework in government waiting rooms, ate vending machine dinners in FBI field offices, fell asleep in plastic chairs while her father changed the world. You doing okay, baby girl? Marcus asked during a brief break on the second day. I'm tired. Lily leaned against his shoulder. But this is important, right? What you're doing. I hope so. Then I'm okay. She yawned. Daddy, when this is over, can we go somewhere? Just you and me. Somewhere with no cameras and no lawyers. Where do you want to go? Anywhere. She smiled sleepily. Maybe the beach. Mama always said she wanted to take us to the beach. Then that's where we'll go. Marcus kissed her forehead. I promise. On the third day, the arrests began. 3 former Pentagon officials, 2 defense contractors, a senator, a lobbyist. The network that had stolen Marcus's research and sold it to the highest bidder was being dismantled piece by piece. Victoria Ashford cooperated fully. She turned over records, gave testimony, named names. The lawyers who had surrounded her like sharks gradually melted away as it became clear that fighting would only make things worse. Marcus watched her testimony on a monitor in Agent Mitchell's office. I didn't know the full extent of my father's corruption until 3 years ago. Victoria's voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. When I learned the truth, I made a choice. I chose to protect my family's reputation rather than do what was right. And now, the congressional questioner asked, now I'm choosing differently. Victoria looked directly at the camera. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm asking the American people to hold me accountable for my failures. And I'm asking Marcus Johnson to accept my sincere apology for everything I did to him. Agent Mitchell muted the screen. She's good. I'll give her that. She's telling the truth, Marcus said quietly. You think so? I think she's been carrying this for 3 years. I think it's been eating her alive. Marcus shook his head. I don't forgive her. I may never forgive her, but I believe she wants to do better. Does it matter what she wants? Maybe, maybe not. Marcus thought about Angela again, about pain passed forward, about breaking cycles. But I'd rather live in a world where people can change than one where they can't. Mitchell studied him curiously. You're not what I expected, Dr. Johnson. What did you expect? Anger, vengeance, someone who wanted to watch Victoria Ashford burn. Mitchell smiled slightly. Instead, I got a man who's using $32 billion to build scholarships for poor kids. The anger is still there, Marcus admitted. But my daughter reminds me every day that anger isn't a legacy, it's just fuel. You have to point it somewhere useful. Smart kid. She gets it from her mother. On the 4th day, the world changed. Congress passed emergency legislation authorizing full review of all classified research sales over the previous 20 years. The Department of Defense announced sweeping reforms to prevent future corruption. 3 major aerospace companies announced they would voluntarily review their patent portfolios for potentially stolen intellectual property, and Marcus Johnson became the most famous mathematician in the world. Interview requests flooded in from every major network. Book publishers offered 7-figure advances. Hollywood studios called about movie rights. Marcus ignored all of it. Instead, he sat in his small apartment with Lily and Mrs. Chen eating takeout Chinese food and watching cartoons like it was any other Tuesday night. You know you're on the news again, Mrs. Chen said, pointing at the muted television in the corner. They're calling you a hero. I'm not a hero. I'm just a guy who got lucky. Lucky, Lily snorted. Daddy, you solved impossible math problems on live television. That's not luck. The luck was having people who believed in me. Marcus pulled her closer. You, Mrs. Chen, David Chen, all the mathematicians who helped me prepare. Without them, I would have failed. But you didn't fail. Lily looked up at him with Angela's eyes. You won. Yeah, baby girl. I guess I did. His phone buzzed. A text from David Chen Foundation paperwork is ready. Angela Johnson Foundation officially launches tomorrow. First scholarship recipients announced next week. Marcus smiled and typed back, "Thank you for everything." Chen's response was immediate. "Thank me by making sure Lily gets to the beach. She earned it." Marcus laughed. "Chen says you earned a beach trip." "I like Dr. Chen." Lily yawned again. "He's nice." "He is." Marcus set down his phone. "Mrs. Chen, would you mind taking Lily to bed? I need to make a call." "Of course, dear." Mrs. Chen helped Lily up from the couch. "Come on, sweet girl. Your father has world-changing to do." "Daddy." "Yes, baby?" "I'm really glad you stopped being invisible." Lily hugged him tight. "I like the real you better." "Me too, sweetheart. Me too." After they were gone, Marcus pulled out his phone and dialed a number he hadn't used in years. It rang 3 times. Hello? Dr. Patterson, it's Marcus. Marcus. Patterson's voice was warm. I've been watching the news. You did it. You actually did it. We did it. None of this would have happened without your help. I just provided information. You provided the courage. Patterson paused. I assume you're calling about the next step. I'm calling to say thank you, and to ask what happens now. Now, Patterson laughed. Now you have $32 billion and the attention of the entire world. What happens now is whatever you decide. That's what scares me. It should. Patterson's voice grew serious. Power corrupts Marcus. Even good people, especially good people, because they convince themselves they're using it for the right reasons. How do I avoid that? You surround yourself with people who will tell you when you're wrong. People who knew you before you were powerful. People who remember the waiter, not the billionaire. Marcus thought about Lily, about Mrs. Chen, about David Chen, and all the others who had helped him. I think I can do that. Then you'll be fine. Patterson paused again. Marcus, there's one more thing I need to tell you. What? Victoria Ashford called me yesterday. She wanted your phone number. Marcus tensed. What did you tell her? I told her no, but she asked me to deliver a message. What message? Patterson was quiet for a moment. She said she's going to spend the rest of her life trying to earn your forgiveness. She said she knows she doesn't deserve it. She said she just wants you to know that you changed her. Changed her how? She didn't say. But Marcus, she was crying. I've known Victoria Ashford for 20 years. I've never heard her cry. Marcus didn't know what to say. Whatever you decide to do with that information is your choice, Patterson continued. But I thought you should know. Thank you. Good night, Marcus. Get some sleep. Tomorrow, the real work begins. Marcus hung up and sat alone in his quiet apartment. Changed her, Victoria had said. He thought about the woman who had thrown coffee in his face, the CEO who had built an empire on his stolen genius, the daughter who had inherited corruption from her father and chosen to perpetuate it. And he thought about the woman who had handed him a signed transfer document before the competition even started, who had confessed everything on live television, who was now testifying against the people who had made her powerful. People could change. Angela had always believed that, even when evidence suggested otherwise. Even when the world proved again and again that cruelty was easier than kindness. People could change. Marcus looked at the photograph of his wife on the mantel. She was smiling as always, believing in him as always. I did it, Angela, he whispered. I remembered who I was. I fought back. I won. The photograph didn't answer, but Marcus could almost hear her voice anyway. I know she would have said. I always knew you would. He wiped his eyes and stood up. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. The foundation, the scholarships, the medical programs. All the ways he was going to transform Victoria's billions into something that actually helped people. But tonight, he was just Marcus Johnson. Father, widower, mathematician. A man who had been invisible for 3 years and finally remembered how to be seen. 6 months later, Marcus stood at a podium he never expected to occupy. The auditorium was packed. 3,000 people filled every seat with another 10,000 watching via live stream. Banners hung from the rafters bearing a name that still made his throat tighten every time he saw it. The Angela Johnson Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, the announcer's voice echoed through the hall. Please welcome the founder of the Angela Johnson Foundation and winner of the Global Innovation Challenge, Dr. Marcus Johnson. The applause was thunderous. Marcus walked to the microphone, his legs steady but his heart racing. Public speaking had never been his strength. Numbers made sense. People were harder. Thank you. He waited for the applause to die down. 6 months ago, I was a waiter. I served coffee to people who looked right through me. I cleaned up messes made by people who thought I was beneath them. I had forgotten who I was. The audience was silent now, listening. My daughter reminded me. Marcus looked toward the front row where Lily sat between Mrs. Chen and David Chen. An 8-year-old girl looked at her broken father and said, "Show everyone who you really are." She believed in me when I had stopped believing in myself. Lily smiled at him, that fierce, beautiful smile that was so much like Angela's. Today we announce the first class of Angela Johnson Scholars, 247 students from across America who were told they weren't good enough, who were told they couldn't afford to dream, who were told to stay invisible. Marcus pulled out a piece of paper. Maria Gonzalez, single mother of 3, had to drop out of nursing school when her husband was deported. Today she's going back. Full scholarship. Applause. James Washington, former Marine, lost both legs in Afghanistan. He was studying engineering when the VA benefits ran out. Today, he's going back. Full scholarship. More applause. Sarah Kim, daughter of Korean immigrants, was accepted to MIT at 16. Her father's restaurant went bankrupt during the pandemic. She's been working as a cashier for 2 years. Marcus's voice cracked slightly. Today, she's going back. Full scholarship. The applause built into a standing ovation. These are not charity cases. Marcus's voice grew stronger. These are geniuses. These are future scientists and doctors and engineers and leaders. The only thing they lacked was opportunity. The only thing standing between them and their dreams was money. He paused. I know what that feels like. I lived it for 3 years. I watched my own dreams die because I couldn't afford to keep them alive. The audience was standing now, tears streaming down faces. Marcus saw David Chen wiping his eyes, saw Mrs. Chen holding Lily's hand. My wife Angela believed that everyone deserves a chance. She believed that talent exists everywhere, but opportunity doesn't. She died before she could see her vision become reality. Marcus looked up at the banners bearing her name. But today, Angela, I hope you can see what we've built. 247 dreamers who are going back to school. 247 invisible people who are about to be seen. He raised his hand toward the audience. And this is just the beginning. After the ceremony, Marcus found himself alone in a hallway trying to catch his breath. The reception was in full swing, donors mingling with scholars, reporters interviewing success stories. A celebration of everything the foundation had accomplished in 6 short months. But Marcus needed a moment. Just one moment of quiet. You were always terrible at parties. He turned. Victoria Ashford stood at the end of the hallway. She looked different than he remembered. Thinner, older. The designer clothes replaced by something simpler. The arrogance replaced by something that looked almost like humility. What are you doing here? I was invited. Victoria walked toward him slowly. Your foundation's communications director thought it would be good publicity. The reformed billionaire supporting the scholarship program. And you came? I came because I wanted to see what you'd built. Victoria stopped a few feet away. It's impressive, Marcus. More than impressive. You've helped more people in 6 months than I helped in 15 years. That's not hard. You spent 15 years helping yourself. I know. Victoria didn't flinch at the words. I'm not here to make excuses. I'm not here to ask for forgiveness. I just wanted to see this. What real generosity looks like. Marcus studied her face. The woman who had thrown coffee at him. The woman who had built her empire on his stolen work. The woman who had covered up the truth for 3 years. And also, the woman who had confessed everything on live television, who had testified against her father's accomplices, who had lost everything she had spent her life building. How are you doing? The question surprised even Marcus. He hadn't planned to ask it. Victoria laughed softly. Honestly, I'm broke. The legal settlements took everything that wasn't transferred to you. I'm living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Queens. I take the subway to my community service assignments. Community service. Part of my plea deal. 500 hours of teaching mathematics at underfunded schools. Victoria smiled slightly. Turns out I'm actually good at it. The kids don't care that I used to be a billionaire. They just want someone who can explain calculus without making them feel stupid. That's not what I expected. Neither did I. Victoria took a deep breath. Marcus, I'm not asking you to forgive me. What I did was unforgivable. But I want you to know that you changed something in me. That night at Lincoln Center when you said you were going to use the money to help people instead of destroying me, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Why? Because I would have destroyed you if the situation was reversed. I would have taken everything and used it to make myself more powerful. Her voice dropped. That's who I was. That's who I thought everyone was. And then you proved me wrong. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. My wife used to say that people can change, that everyone deserves a chance to be better than their worst moments. He looked at Victoria directly. I didn't believe her for a long time, especially after she died. The world seemed too cruel, too unfair. But now I have 247 scholars who are going back to school because someone gave them a chance. Now I have a daughter who believes in people even when they don't deserve it. Marcus shook his head slowly. I still don't forgive you, Victoria. I may never forgive you, but I can acknowledge that you're trying to be different. That's more than I deserve. Probably. But my wife would have given you that much, so I will too. Victoria's eyes glistened. Thank you, Marcus. Don't thank me. Earn it. He nodded toward the reception hall. There are 247 young people in there who need mentors, people who understand what it's like to face impossible odds. You want to prove you've changed, start helping them. You'd let me do that after everything. I'd let you try. Marcus smiled slightly. That's what the foundation is about. Giving people chances they didn't think they'd get. Victoria was silent for a long moment. Then she extended her hand. Partners. Marcus looked at her hand, thought about all the pain she had caused, all the years he had lost, all the cruelty he had endured. Then he thought about Angela, about breaking cycles, about pain transformed into something better. He shook her hand. Partners. The beach was everything Lily had dreamed of. Marcus watched his daughter run across the sand, her leg braces replaced by new prosthetics that let her move with a freedom she had never known. The Angela Johnson Foundation's medical program had funded the surgery, the best doctors in the country, the most advanced technology available, 3 months of recovery, 3 months of physical therapy. And now, for the first time in her life, Lily could run. Daddy! Daddy, look! She was building a sandcastle near the water's edge. Not just any sandcastle. An elaborate structure with towers and bridges and a moat that actually held water. That's amazing, baby girl. Marcus walked over to examine her work. How did you figure out the engineering? Dr. Chen taught me. He said sandcastles are just structural physics problems. She grinned up at him. Plus, I'm smart. You get that from your mother. I know. Lily patted the sand carefully. Daddy, can I ask you something? Anything. Are you happy now? The question caught him off guard. What do you mean? I mean, you used to be sad all the time. Even when you smiled, your eyes were sad. But now... Lily looked at him carefully. Your eyes are different. Marcus sat down in the sand beside her. Yeah, baby girl. I'm happy now. Because of the foundation. Partly. Because of you, mostly. He put his arm around her. You reminded me who I was. You made me fight when I wanted to give up. Everything good that's happened is because of you. And Mama. And Mama. Marcus looked out at the ocean. She's proud of you, Lily. Wherever she is, she's proud of both of us. I know. Lily leaned against him. I can feel her sometimes. when I'm scared or sad. It's like she's still here telling me everything will be okay. What does she say? She says you're the smartest person in the world. She says I should always remind you of that when you forget. Lily smiled. She also says you work too hard, and you should take more beach vacations. Marcus laughed. That does sound like your mother. She was right about everything, wasn't she? Almost everything. Marcus hugged her tighter. She was wrong about one thing. What? She thought I would need you to remind me who I was. But you did more than that. You showed me who I could become. He kissed the top of her head. That's not reminding. That's creating. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Daddy, when I grow up, I want to be like you. You want to be a mathematician? No, I want to be someone who helps people who are invisible, like you were. She looked up at him with Angela's eyes. I want to give people chances when no one else will. Marcus felt tears welling up. You already do that, baby girl, every day. Really? Really, you gave me a chance when I didn't think I deserved one. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. He wiped his eyes. That's the most important work there is. They sat together in the sand watching the waves roll in. Father and daughter, survivor and hope. The past and the future joined by love. Daddy. Yeah. Can we get ice cream? Marcus laughed. Yeah, baby girl. We can get ice cream. 1 year after the competition, Marcus returned to Lincoln Center. Not for a challenge this time, for a different purpose entirely. The Global Innovation Challenge had been restructured. New oversight. New rules. No more manipulation by wealthy sponsors. No more predetermined outcomes. And a new annual award presented to someone who embodied the spirit of mathematical excellence combined with social impact. The Angela Johnson Award for Mathematical Courage. Marcus sat in the audience this time watching as the first recipient was announced. This year's Angela Johnson Award goes to Dr. Sarah Kim, former cashier, current MIT doctoral candidate, and the first Angela Johnson Scholar to publish original research. Sarah Kim walked to the stage crying before she even reached the podium. 20 years old, brilliant beyond measure, saved from invisibility by a scholarship that arrived just when she had given up hope. I don't know what to say. Her voice trembled. A year ago I was scanning groceries and crying myself to sleep because I thought my dreams were over. And now? She looked at Marcus in the audience. Dr. Johnson gave me a chance. He didn't know me. He didn't owe me anything. He just saw someone who needed help and decided to help. Sarah wiped her eyes. That's what courage is, not just fighting for yourself, fighting for people you'll never meet, believing in people who have stopped believing in themselves. The audience applauded. Angela Johnson never got to meet me, Sarah continued. But I feel like I know her, because I see her in everything the foundation does. I see her in the way Dr. Johnson talks about second chances. I see her in the way he looks at his daughter. She held up the award. This isn't for me. This is for every invisible person who needs someone to see them. This is for everyone who was told they weren't good enough. This is for Angela Johnson, who believed that everyone deserves a chance. After the ceremony, Marcus found himself in the same hallway where he had confronted Victoria a year earlier. But this time, he wasn't alone. Lily walked beside him holding his hand. Mrs. Chen followed close behind, along with David Chen and all the others who had believed in him from the beginning. Dr. Johnson. He turned. Sarah Kim stood nervously clutching her award. I just wanted to thank you, personally, for everything. You earned it, Sarah. The scholarship, the award, all of it. I just provided the opportunity. You provided more than that. Sarah's voice was quiet. You showed me that it's possible, that someone like me can matter, can make a difference. Someone like you, invisible, poor, Different. Sarah smiled through her tears. You were invisible too, weren't you? Before all this? Yes, for 3 years. How did you survive it? Marcus looked at Lily, at Mrs. Chen, at all the people who had helped him remember who he was. I surrounded myself with people who saw me, even when I couldn't see myself. He put his hand on Sarah's shoulder. That's the secret, Sarah. You don't have to do it alone. You find people who believe in you, and you hold on to them tight. Like a family. Exactly like a family. Sarah nodded slowly. Then I guess the Angela Johnson scholars are my family now. They are, and so are we. 2 years after the competition, Marcus published his first paper in 15 years. Revolutionary Approaches to Infinite Series Analysis, a unified framework for mathematical intuition. It built on everything he had discovered during Project Nighthawk, everything that had been stolen from him, everything he had finally reclaimed. But it also built on something new. The insights he had gained from teaching, from mentoring, from watching young mathematicians approach problems with fresh eyes and unconventional methods. The paper was co-authored by 12 Angela Johnson scholars, each one credited equally, each one given the recognition that had been stolen from Marcus 15 years earlier. You could have published this alone, David Chen said, reading the acknowledgments page. It would have cemented your reputation as one of the greatest mathematicians of the century. I don't need a reputation, Marcus smiled. I need a legacy. There's a difference. Reputation is what people think of you. Legacy is what you leave behind. He looked at the list of co-authors. These 12 young people are going to change mathematics forever. That's worth more than any reputation. Chen shook his head slowly. Angela would be proud. I hope so. She would be. A new voice entered the conversation. Marcus turned. Victoria stood in the doorway of his office, a stack of papers in her hands. The quarterly report from the mentorship program. She set the papers on his desk. 93% retention rate, highest of any educational initiative in the country. You did good work. We did good work. Victoria smiled slightly. I still can't believe you let me be part of this. Neither can I most days. Marcus picked up the report. But Angela always said everyone deserves a second chance. Even people who threw coffee in your face. Especially them. He looked at her directly. You've earned your place here, Victoria, not because of who you were, because of who you've become. That means more than you know. I know exactly what it means, because someone said the same thing to me once, when I didn't believe I deserved it. Victoria nodded slowly. Your wife. My wife. They stood in comfortable silence. Not friends exactly, but no longer enemies. Something in between. Something that looked like understanding. Dr. Johnson. His assistant appeared in the doorway. Your daughter is here. She says it's important. Marcus found Lily waiting in the lobby, practically vibrating with excitement. Daddy, look. She thrust a piece of paper into his hands. A letter. Official letterhead. Princeton University. I got an early admission full scholarship. Lily was bouncing on her new prosthetics. They said my application was one of the best they've ever seen. Marcus read the letter 3 times before his brain caught up with his eyes. Princeton, his daughter, at 14 years old. Lily, this is incredible. Dr. Chen helped me with my application, and Sarah Kim wrote me a recommendation letter. And Mrs. Chen proofread everything like 50 times. Lily's words tumbled out in a rush. But Daddy, the best part is the essay question. They asked why I wanted to study mathematics. What did you write? Lily's excitement softened into something deeper. I wrote about you, about watching you fight for what was right, about seeing you help people who had no one else. She took his hand. I wrote that mathematics isn't about numbers. It's about truth. And truth is the most powerful force in the universe. Marcus couldn't speak. His daughter. His brilliant, brave, impossible daughter. Going to Princeton at 14. Angela would have been so proud. "Daddy, are you crying?" "No." He wiped his eyes. "Yes, maybe." Lily hugged him tight. "I'm going to make you proud, I promise." "You already have, baby girl. Every single day since you were born." They stood in the lobby of the Angela Johnson Foundation headquarters, father and daughter, holding each other while the world moved around them. 3 years ago, Marcus had been invisible. A waiter who had forgotten he was brilliant. A father who had forgotten he was brave. A man who had forgotten he was loved. Then a billionaire threw coffee in his face, dared him to solve an impossible problem, challenged him to prove he was worth something. And everything changed, not because of the money, not because of the recognition, not because of the victory, because an 8-year-old girl looked at her broken father and said, "Show everyone who you really are." Because a dying wife made her daughter promise to remind her husband of his worth. Because people who had no reason to believe in him believed anyway. That night, Marcus stood on the balcony of his new home, watching the city lights of Manhattan spread out below him. Lily was asleep inside. Mrs. Chen was in the guest room she now occupied permanently. David Chen was probably still at the foundation offices working on next year's scholarship applications. And somewhere out there, Victoria Ashford was teaching calculus to kids who reminded her of herself at that age. Kids who needed someone to believe in them. Marcus pulled out his phone and opened the photo album he looked at every night before bed. Angela's face smiled at him from the screen. Beautiful, brave, believing in him even when he couldn't believe in himself. "I did it, Angela," he whispered. "I remembered who I was. I fought back. I won." He swiped to the next photo. Angela holding newborn Lily in the hospital, both of them glowing with joy. "She's amazing, Angela. You would be so proud of her. She's going to Princeton. Can you believe it, our baby girl?" Swipe. Angela and Marcus on their wedding day, young, hopeful, full of dreams about the future. "I miss you every day, but I'm not sad anymore. Not like I was, because I can see you everywhere. In Lily's eyes, in the scholars we help, in every invisible person who becomes visible." He closed the phone and looked up at the stars. "Thank you, Angela, for believing in me, for making Lily promise to remind me, for loving me even when I forgot how to love myself." A gentle breeze brushed his face, almost like a kiss. Marcus smiled. 3 years ago, he had been invisible. Now he was seen. Not because he had won a competition. Not because he had billions of dollars. Not because he had defeated Victoria Ashford. He was seen because he had remembered the truth that Angela had always known. That genius isn't about where you start. It's about refusing to let anyone else define your limits. That courage isn't about having no fear. It's about fighting anyway. That love isn't about never being broken. It's about putting the pieces back together and using them to help others heal. Marcus Johnson had been invisible for 3 years, but his daughter reminded him who he was. His wife's memory showed him who he could become. And the world finally saw what Angela had always seen. A man who was worth everything.